Hi there, and welcome to the third episode in this series all about rivers and canals. Now, did you recognise the settlement in the last episode?
It was, of course, London and the River Thames.
This is a picture of James Brindley, who lived in the 18th century. One thing I've learnt about him, which I think is important, is that he did all his schooling at home with his mum.
And it just so happened that he turned out to be one of the great canal architects in the history of the United Kingdom's canals.
So during this episode, I want us to find out all about him and what he did.
He was born in 1716 in Tunstead, near to Buxton in Derbyshire, UK. Here stood the cottage in which James Brindley was born. Of humble birth, he became famous as the pioneer builder of the great canals of England. When he was 17, Brindley became an apprentice millwright and then set up his own business. In the 18th century, water mills were used to drive machinery to grind corn to make flour for bread making. A water mill involved channeling water over a huge wheel in order to turn it, and that's what James Brindley was involved in. This is Brindley's corn mill in Leek in Staffordshire, which dates back to 1752. This gave Brindley lots of experience of using water and inventing machinery, and he became very successful. Brindley's reputation came to the attention of Francis Egerton, the 3rd Duke of Bridgewater, who was looking for a way to transport coal from his coal mines to Manchester. Brindley was engaged to deal with the difficult sections of the canal. He designed the Burton Aqueduct to take the canal over the River Irwell. It was the first navigable aqueduct in England. It is said that Brindley used a block of cheese to make a model to show people his ideas. An aqueduct was built to carry the canal over a valley or over another river, or both. In episode 1, I took my boat, the Swamp Duck, to lock number 1 on the Trent and Mersey Canal. So here I am, about to go through the lock. So here I am at the start of the 93.5 miles to the Mersey, on a canal which was built by James Brindley. He started it 254 years ago in 1766. That's 8 generations ago. It took 11 years to build, but unfortunately James never saw it completed, as he died 5 years before it was finished in 1772. But I'm so glad he had the drive to start it, otherwise I wouldn't be here enjoying it today. Let's have a look at a little bit more of it. Of course, James Brindley didn't build the canal without a great deal of help and money. As we've seen, canals were built to move goods like coal. One of Brindley's friends was this man, Josiah Wedgwood. Josiah had a pottery just outside Stoke-on-Trent, and he wanted a better way to transport the pots that his factories made. So in 1766 he and Brindley began to construct the Trent and Mersey Canal. Without any modern machinery, it took an enormous amount of people to cut away the soil to make a ditch. The people were called navvies. With picks and shovels they cut away the soil. Even today the canals are referred to as the cut. Having cut the ditch, they now had to find a way of keeping the water in the ditch without it seeping into the soil and disappearing. This is where the genius of James Brindley came to the fore. When it rains on uneven ground, you often get a puddle forming. That's because the ground is uneven, but also the water stays longer because the ground at the bottom of the ditch has been flattened. If you've been walking in the countryside, you know this often happens by field gates where cattle have been standing. So James Brindley came up with the idea of puddling. A dense, sticky clay soil was mixed with grit and used to line the bottom and the sides of the ditch. The clay was flattened by driving herds of cattle up and down the ditch. This was repeated many times until the ditch had 3 foot of the puddle mixture at the bottom and about a foot of it on the sides. The reason the clay was mixed with grit was to stop waterfalls from tunnelling into the clay and causing the canal to leak. Puddling was probably Brindley's most valuable contribution to canal building, and it was used throughout the canal network and has stood the test of time. Another big problem that James Brindley had to overcome was when his canal met the Kids Grove Hill, which was far too high and steep for locks to be used. So Brindley's answer was to go through the hill by building a tunnel. The tunnel was 2,633 metres long. That's the length of 22 football pitches. When it opened in 1777, the only way to get a boat through was for people to lie on their backs on the roof of the boat and put their feet on the side walls of the tunnel and walk it through. This was known as legging, and it took about 3 hours to do it. Brindley's tunnel remained open for 137 years.
So we can see that this man, James Brindley, who was homeschooled, grew up to have a major impact in the United Kingdom as he became one of the first canal makers. Because of his work, goods were able to be transported throughout the country by boat, which was more efficient than anything else in the 18th century and the first half of the 19th century. He was responsible for the building of canals like the Trent and Mersey Canal and others. His method of puddling is still in use today in pond construction. His methods of getting his canals through obstacles was the forerunner of modern tunnel construction. The Trent and Mersey Canal needed 74 locks in order to get boats up and down the various water levels. James Brindley's locks have been copied and adapted throughout the world. Of course, he wasn't the only one. There have been plenty of other people who have helped to develop the inland waterways, and there have been some great inventions along the way, like this one. Check out my video, Cathedral of the Canals, to find out more about this one and to learn the name of it. Please subscribe to this channel and you will be notified the next time when an episode comes out. Comments are always welcome either on YouTube or Facebook. So, once again, thank you for watching and stay safe.